Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Hayden with the Hill Pursuit Podcast, and this is going to be a fun one. This is episode 72 of the show, and this is a pre 4x4x48 challenge episode. So, the 4x4x48 challenge is a challenge. It's a running challenge that involves running 4 miles once every 4 hours for 48 hours. So, over 2 days, you're running 48 miles on very little sleep. The challenge of fueling and rehydrating and nutrition and the pacing of each run and the weather and all that fun stuff. So this is just a quick episode to kind of talk about what that challenge is. I talk with Coach Kenny joins me today, and I talk a little bit about kind of why I'm doing this, the background of it, how I got into this type of event in the first place, how I got into Ironman 3 years ago, training for triathlons, how I even got to that point, and then kind of just what this stuff means to me, what this type of training and this type of event means to us as people, what we can benefit from doing this type of event. So, if you're listening, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I'm going to update social media as much as I possibly can throughout the course of these next 48 hours with all these different 12 different 4 mile runs. So please follow along. I appreciate it. We appreciate it at Hill Pursuit. All the socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, the podcast streams on Spotify, Podbean, Google, Apple, and we have a YouTube now. All of that's at Hill Pursuit. If you want to ask any questions, hillpursuit@gmail.com. Reach out for coaching, nutrition, blog, any and everything at our website, hillpursuit.com, where you can access all that fun stuff. Please take a good listen here. A little summary about my prep for this challenge, and how I plan to operate throughout the challenge, and then of course over the next 48 hours, follow along as much as you can to kind of see how it's going over the course of the 48 miles I'll be running. Over the next 2 days. So thanks for following along. This is episode 72 of the Hill Pursuit Podcast. Enjoy. All right, what's up, Kenny? Here we are, an hour away from 4x4x48.
Ready to have some fun?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am.
How the legs feeling?
What'd you say?
How the legs feeling?
Good. I pretty much, well, I actually had a really busy day, but I didn't exercise at all today. So I've been home by myself with my daughters all week. My wife was picking up some extra shifts, I guess. It's my spring break. So I did have a relatively busy and hectic week, but um, I stayed pretty much on top of everything. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a little tired. I was hoping to nap today, but our 3-year-old decided that she wants to stop taking naps, and she's like fighting that. So I thought I could get in a nap, but just
Dad
did
life.
not happen. What'd you say?
Dad life.
Yeah, for real, dude. It didn't happen, but I'm pretty well rested, and I'm ready to start. But let's just dive into kind of what it is real quick. But the 4x4x48, you may even know a little bit more about this than I do, but I know it's a challenge that David Goggins, I don't know if he started it. He does it pretty frequently. I think he does it every year. I'm not sure if he does, but he typically like sets a date for it, is my understanding. And people from wherever, it's just like an event that you can just kind of do wherever. You can, live in the city, you can, live in the country, doesn't matter. It's 4 miles once every 4 hours for 48 hours, totaling obviously 48 miles over 2 days. So this year, I guess he said he's like way too busy to set a formal date. So it was like a month or 5 weeks ago, he said something on one of his social media platforms that he was just like, hey, just go do this whenever you want. This is typically the time of year I do it. I can't really commit to a weekend. or 2 days. So just go do it. So the wheels were kind of turning, and I was like, I could probably find some time to do this. And I kind of wanted to do it last year, but I couldn't when he was doing it or when everybody was doing it, whatever. But so whatever. Long story short, found the time. It's spring break, so it's a heck of a way to spend part of spring break, I guess. But
I was say,
yeah, but
all
I
that
don't know. I just kind of want the challenge, and I think the fitness is there. I'm really curious to see how I deal with the sleep deprivation and the that much mileage on my legs over 2 days. I've obviously not felt before, but I've felt some pretty hard stuff before. So I think the fitness will be okay. But I'm curious how the mental aspect and the sleep depth messes with me. So what do you know about this?
I think I saw him post something about this like 2 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
And I was interested in doing it. And honestly, I was a little bit confused at first, but then I think he did some type of virtual Instagram live thing the whole time. And like he had other people share their videos and something else. And I think it started as like a big old community event more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think it goes without saying, obviously, it's going to be hard for you. I mean, it would be hard for anybody. But I think I don't know which one would be actually more difficult because, dude, I know you can run 48 miles, right? And like
Well,
you
we'll
said,
see. I don't know.
huh?
I said I don't know. I mean, I've technically never done an ultra marathon, but what I like about this, before I go down a rabbit hole, I'll let you finish. But what I like about this is it's like anybody can do it. Anybody can make an attempt at this. You don't have to sign up. You don't need to qualify for this. And it's still a way to like dip your toe into like the world of ultra without, you know, getting on a mountain and running 100 miles. It's still more than a marathon. I think the aspect of the sleep deprivation is going to be a little bit different than a more traditional race. But anyways, go ahead.
I was just gonna say too. I think the thing that I like about this the most is that you're doing this like by yourself, right? You're doing this with no people. You're just doing this by yourself. I mean, I think a race like this or like a challenge like this also kind of shows like who's actually doing this because they like to do this, like they want to improve and do these things. And then there's also like maybe some people that that like performing in front of crowds or hitting race PRs and other things, which obviously anybody that's obviously trying to compete or perform better, you obviously want to see performance increases. But I think doing something like this would kind of show like your actual why as to why you're doing any type of endurance event or whatever else. Anytime you're by yourself, you get to see your true colors, and I'm sure you'll be fine. You've been sleep deprived before. I know you've been putting in the miles. I mean, I want to ask you one question. Do you have like a pace in mind? Like, what's your fueling? Like all these things. Like,
I
the
know
question you asked me, man.
we could easily turn this into like an hour long episode, but I do want to keep it to 20 minutes because now at this
Okay.
point I'm running in 45 minutes. But um, yeah, what's my strategy? I mean, that's a huge question. So with the running, I'm probably going to keep it slower than 10-minute miles,
Okay.
but not to the point where I'm like running like super stiff or messing with my gait.
Yeah.
So I am going to go almost as slow as I possibly can without like ruining my run gait. So I would guess somewhere between like 10 and 11 minutes,
Okay.
somewhere in there. But I mean, I know that people get to the point where they're walking some of this. So I hope to be able to run all of it is my first goal. I want to be able to run every segment.
Okay.
Um, and I guess ultimately finish the 4 miles in under an hour every single time, I guess would be a goal. But
I, I think that's pretty realistic.
yeah, that's 15-minute miles. If
Yeah.
it took me an hour, that's a 15-minute mile. So
That's like a brisk walk, right?
it could be, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not at mile 48,
No.
but yeah, absolutely. That's a brisk walk,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Um, but I mean, yeah, like what's the point? I mean, that's a good question that you kind of brought up. I mean, I think people do this kind of thing just to see what they're made of. It's not like you're not
A med-
getting a medal. It's not a race finish. It's not. it's not technically a marathon. It's not technically an ultra marathon. It's not a formal event or anything. And like you said, there's no crowd, there's no anything. I mean, it's possible that people run at 10 p.m., I guess, but then I'm going to be running at 2 a.m. Dude, no one runs at 2 a.m., right? So it's like you figure out. And I'm looking, what'd you say?
Unless they're being chased by somebody.
Yeah, good point. No one runs at 2 unless they're being chased.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, dude. You better hope that nobody pulls you over.
I know. But I mean, I actually am looking forward to. So here's like kind of why I'm doing it. I'm looking forward to like asking myself those questions as it's happening.
Yeah.
Like, what am I trying to figure out? Like, I like doing hard fitness things and I like training and but I wanted to try to like push the limit a little bit. And I think that's the whole purpose is, in order to grow as, not just an athlete, but just as a human, you have to figure out what you're made of and where your own boundaries are, where your own limits are. And, your body and your mind kind of operate on two different scales in terms of where your limits are, and I think a lot of people who get into this type of world of like crazy challenges or ultra endurance events or doing pull-ups for 24 hours straight like 5 times in your life, you know people get into this stuff not to like destroy their body and say, oh, I want to hurt myself. And that's not the point. The point is like, there's a physical limit, there's a mental limit. Everybody has different like standards for where those limits are kind of like tripped
Yeah.
and don't align.
No.
So, how close can you get them to align? Is your mind as strong as it could possibly be? And are there ways to make it stronger? And that doesn't just translate to training, that translates to your entire life. I mean, you have to feel a certain way, Ken, when you finish an attempt at a world record and you get like however many thousands of pull-ups, multiple attempts. You
Yeah.
have to feel like really proud of that. And like you found some sort of a limit. You went back to the drawing board, then you found a new limit. Not saying you're doing it again, but there's always more though, is my point.
I mean, no, and I completely agree. And I mean, you already kind of said this without saying it, but like your brain always goes way before your body. Like I think most people know that. Like it's always like whether you're running, biking, swimming, doing pull-ups, whatever, it's always like you can always take at least one more step, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can always one more pull up. You can always do one more thing, obviously excluding injury. But yeah, like you said too, it's just like you get to learn more about yourself doing things like this because like I think adding in the extra not perfect circumstances, the sleep, your food might get screwed up. You're going to be training at different times of the day, which some people might not know about. It's like, if you're going to be training at 6 a.m. for an event, then you should probably be running, biking, or swimming or doing whatever at that time.
Yeah.
Well, if you throw in oh, hey, dude, you got to go run at 2:00 in the freaking morning. Who runs at 2:00 in the morning? Nobody.
Right.
So, yeah, like you said too, I think you kind of unlock something. And that's why, like, for me, and I know that you're obviously very relatable to this too, I really enjoy seeing where my brain can take this,
Yeah.
my body, and not just, like living, I don't want to say living like a normal life, but like, I think we are all, inherently supposed to do something extremely hard at some point. And it doesn't always have to be working out.
No.
But you are always supposed to do something harder. It's just like, why are you even doing this in the first place? I'm not trying to walk through the rest of my life with what ifs when I'm 70, even if it means like I might beat myself up a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Even if I'm willing to beat myself up a little bit here and there, I'd rather, and I'm sure you're the same way too, I would much rather push myself now and regret nothing later than to never push myself and then regret it for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I mean, dude, we get we get one life down here. And I mean,
Yeah,
so many people have spent decades just like thinking about
what
doing
they could.
something, yeah,
Yeah,
what they could be doing, or like doing something hard. And it's just like that idea is just sad. And um that actually reminds me real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit more about nutrition, or you can kind of weigh in on some stuff. But that
okay.
reminds me of how I got into Ironman even in the first place. Um, I actually, when I was in college, I think I was probably around like early 20s, 21 or 20. Yeah, probably 21 or 22. I told some friends I thought it would be fun to do an Ironman. And that's just like the young college bro in me, like, oh, this would be cool to do, having no idea about like anything that went into any part of completing an Ironman. So I'm like, oh yeah, I think it'd be cool to do an Ironman. Fast forward, and I turned 30, and I had done absolutely nothing to work towards what I said 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And I'm literally thinking, why not? Why haven't I done anything? Am I like just going to the gym to lift like 5 days a week and like occasionally jog? I'm not, I'm not working towards anything.
No.
So I turned 30 or 31. I forget exactly when it was, honestly, but I mean, I remember I think it was 2019, late in 2019, I did my first like sprint triathlon. So coming up on 4 years, 3.5 years, I guess, right now in the sport. But I had done nothing, and I was just like so annoyed at myself that I let that much time go by. Having that in the back of my head and having like verbalized it, and I learned nothing about myself along the way. And I was just as soon as I got into the sport, I started learning like brand new limits I never knew existed that I had. And it's just like when I think about people who look at the 4x4x48 or whatever else, a half marathon, a marathon, whatever, and they think, why on earth would people do this? I almost feel bad. I almost feel bad for those people because
I
they don't like understand that, you learn about yourself. You become a better version of yourself by putting yourself in hard positions and
yeah,
then adapting and learning and overcoming. And it's like some people, you don't, like you said earlier, you don't have to use training or fitness as like that modality to like better yourself, but you learn so much about yourself by just making things hard and overcoming it.
well, I mean, I just want to kind of segue into this too. I mean, like, and even if we're not talking about fitness, if you do something that's super hard, that's, fitness oriented, like, that you have done and I've done and a bunch of people that maybe listen to this too, that carries over into all the stuff that you do. It's like, dude, it's like if you got to sit there and read, 25 emails or grade papers, because I know you're obviously a professor and you really don't want to do it. You can think back to when you were freaking cramping up or doing whatever race and feeling like you're about to fall over. You're like, I felt so bad doing this and still somehow completed this race. And yet I can't do this one very simple task where I'm just sitting here doing this, or, what I mean? I think about that stuff all the time when, training clients or, waking up early, or like the woe is me mentality. And I think back to all the hard things that I've done in the past too. And I'm just like, why have I just all of a sudden fallen out of this mindset that I was able to put myself into while I was doing these events? And now I can't apply it to this. Like, no, like this is not me. And David Goggins, because I know we brought this up with the 4x4x48, he always says, pull your stuff out from that cookie jar, pull those things out. Right. And I mean, I don't want to tag him too much in this, obviously, but it is, you got to look back at the hard things that you've done, whether it's fitness stuff or whatever you've done, and apply it to the future stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It literally makes everything else in life that normal people get stressed about not stressful at all. Like people get worried about, like you said, if it's just grading papers or meeting a deadline, like, dude, I did something way harder than this for 15 hours. I can handle a couple extra hours working on this assignment or
Yeah.
grading papers or getting ahead here or programming for clients, whatever you want to call it. Like
Yeah.
it makes everything else, it creates a new scale, a new standard of what difficult is. And now you just look at everything else differently. That's what I love about pushing myself and like learning a little bit. But about 5 more minutes. Let's talk a little bit about nutrition.
Okay.
So I finish in under an hour, come back. I have an electrolyte supplement that I'm very comfortable with. Been drinking it all day and yesterday as well. But so drink some of that immediately. I'm just gonna supplement like salt tabs whenever I feel like it, kind of intuitively. I'm gonna try to maintain like a normal breakfast, just bigger volume, I guess. Maybe a little bit, obviously more frequently. I'm gonna try to eat between every single one. I have some stuff prepped, but it's really just gonna be whatever I feel like grabbing in the moment. And I think that's okay. You can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but for this long of an event with the actual work interval being so short, I'm not like terribly worried about GI issues. I'm just gonna grab whatever I feel like eating so that I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of uncrustables ready to go. I prepped like a bunch of ground beef and I have a bunch of rice. I have some chicken thighs prepped. My wife is making a homemade pizza for me tomorrow at some point. So if I come back and I want to grab a slice of pizza, like absolutely I'm going to. And we always try to make pizza because buying pizza out is super unhealthy. So we always try to make our pizza. But anyway, so there's that, and then actually I don't think I really have much else like formally planned. But I have a bunch of like snacks and bars and stuff sitting around. So if I don't feel like eating a huge meal, I might not. I have like overnight oats that I don't know if you're a fan of those, but I have overnight oats for the next
No.
couple days. What did you say?
Oatmeal and me do not agree.
Oh no, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah.
But and then I'm probably gonna make some waffles tomorrow morning after the 6 a.m. So I don't know. Any last second advice on that front now that I'm running in 30 minutes, but I do have like the ability to adapt a little bit in terms of the nutrition, but I was planning to just kind of operate intuitively and just have everything accessible if I need it.
I mean, I don't have much else to say about it. I mean, obviously, stick with the things you normally eat.
Yeah.
Avoid foods. Make sure you stay on top of your hydration, which I'm sure you are. Take the supplements when you need it, but like you said too, it's not like it's a continuous event, so you don't really have to rely on like all liquids and gels and all that crap. You're gonna have more
Right.
than enough to eat solid foods. I mean, dude, you could eat a solid meal and digest that in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and
Right.
you'll be fine. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm looking forward to. But over the night, like the night ones, so I'm hoping I can get good amount of sleep between 10 and 2 and then 2 and 6,
Yeah.
and then maybe a nap during one of the daytime ones. But I want to maintain like somewhat of a normal circadian rhythm. Of course, that's not going to be like perfectly possible, but um, I'm going to try to stay awake after the 6 a.m. After the
I would
6 a.m.
I would even maybe, and I know that you obviously went over your goal of trying to stay underneath an hour, but maybe even like slow it down during the evening time too.
Yeah,
Just tighten yourself so much so you can actually fall asleep. I mean, I'm
I
just kind
know.
of spitballing there, but
Yeah, that's good. And I was also thinking that, in 30 minutes I'm gonna get out there and it's gonna hit me and I'll be all alone and it might like jack me up and I might get too excited.
well, dude, that's what I was. Yeah, it's gonna be like it's probably gonna feel like you're you're like first race jitters where you just come out the gate freaking swinging. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
I know, I know.
It's marathon, man. It's freaking 2 days. So yeah, I would just yeah, make sure. I know you're smart, man. Keep up with your pace. Do all those good things too. Just don't come out the gate hot and don't go crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I think everything else that you said is already pretty on point. And I want to say this too. So I figured out your why for this race, so you can eat all that pizza and food, huh?
Yeah, yeah, right, right. Oh
Run it
man,
all.
I love a good homemade pizza and my wife makes a good homemade pizza, so
Hey, dude, I
uh
work and I eat.
yeah. I also like selfishly wanted to. I chose the other thing that's weird. I didn't figure this out. If like there's always a start time. So if there is, I mean, who cares at this point? I'm starting at 10 p.m. But I chose 10 to 6, 10 to 6, 10 to 6, 10 to 6 for a couple different reasons. Um, I think the 2 p.m. is typically when my girls go down for naps. Now, whether they do or not tomorrow and the next day is a different question, but I think I could squeeze in a nap after the 2 p.m. If I can't, I can't. But so I chose it for that reason. And then also I wanted to be done kind of early on Saturday so I could try to have a normal night's sleep Saturday night. And we don't want to miss church either. So I selfishly wanted to be done for that. But yeah, I wanted like a full day to recover on Sunday because I do go back to school on Monday. So
Yeah, you don't want to be hobbling around with your students, right?
yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I mean,
funny.
you probably will regardless, but I mean,
I know. Yeah. It's funny. A couple of them like follow some of the social now and they're like commenting and saying like good luck and stuff. It's really funny. They
oh,
talk to me.
dude, I have to ask you, how's your wife feel about this?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Hey,
know. I think
sorry, go ahead.
I think you know, when we were talking about it earlier, like some people say, why would people do this? She's definitely one of those people. Like we are like polar opposite when it comes to fitness and training for sure. So but it's a nice compliment. So we definitely are the opposites attract when it comes to the training stuff. So she definitely thinks I'm a little crazy, but that's all right. I'm a little crazy, so
No,
that's
you
okay.
gotta keep things interesting, man. You know, like
Yeah.
you just you know, hey, I have this like week-long break. You know, I'm gonna do 2 days of it.
I
I'm just
know.
gonna 48 miles because I've got the time.
Yeah, I brought it up to her, I think 5 weeks ago, 5 or 6, literally right after I saw the Goggins post. And I don't she definitely thought it was really stupid, but I don't know, it kind of grew on her to the point where she was just like, you know what, I don't care. If it works out logistically, fine. But that actually speaks to the point of I am 100% on my own figuring this out, aside from that homemade pizza tomorrow. So I am looking forward to that. But anyways,
Uh,
um,
that's awesome.
I'm good. You got anything else?
Yeah. I mean, good
Yeah,
luck. I feel it. You know, I obviously can't wait to talk about this, but
yeah,
stay on top of it, man. Don't go crazy, and you know,
yeah.
I know you got this.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. And yeah, if you're listening, I am going to try to update as much as I can on some of the socials. So check that stuff out. Facebook, Instagram. This podcast, I'm going to try to get out here shortly. If not right before, then definitely right after the 10 o'clock run because it'll go up really really quick. But so this podcast, you can access podcasts on Spotify, Podbean, Google, Apple, all that stuff, and it's on YouTube as well. If you're listening, you can check out the YouTube channel. I'll try to get some cool YouTube stuff up as part of the 4-4-48 challenge. But I don't think I really have anything else. If you want to reach out to us, check us out at our website, hillpursuit.com, and then of course email at hillpursuit@gmail.com. Any and everything related to coaching, all the podcast links, blogs, YouTube stuff, nutrition stuff with Coach Kenny here and Coach Ashley, all that stuff's up there. So check it all out. Follow along the 4-4-48. Really appreciate you listening. This was episode 72 of the Hill Pursuit podcast. See you next time.